G'day everyone, thought I'd pop in again for our usual weekly show for Friday here in Aussie land. It's obviously only Thursday if you're in the UK or the US, but now today we're actually going to drink a Corona. So I'm back to the Corona today, guys, so time for you to crack a stubby, as I always say, with me, and cheers. It is only 10:28 in the morning. This is the pre-show, so if you are watching later, just skip along and I will put the timeline down below. So say hi in the chat. So cheers anyway. So I'm just going to pop over to the chat, pop in there and say hi if you can. I'm just going to take this pre-show sign off so we can have a chat. So what have we got? Dan's here. We've got Mario here as well. Mike said, hi David, how's life treating you? Really good, Mike. Looking forward to a wedding tomorrow. I've got a really unusual wedding that I'm doing tomorrow. I'm only shooting for 4 hours and I'm doing the stills and the video tomorrow. So it's going to be really different for me. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I can't wait, actually. Hopefully the weather will be okay. It's going to be a little bit cool. I think, what is it, around about 15 degrees Celsius tomorrow. So that's cool for us. But I am really looking forward to it, so it should be good. Dominic's here as well. Hi, Dominic. And David Johnson's also just popped in. Guys, as we pop on, please, if you could give me a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate that. Got a number of things that I wanted to sort of talk to you about today. I've been trying out the this Velo intervalometer, and I'm really having fun actually using it. I've only basically just started to try to use it at this stage just to see how it functions. There's one thing that I did find out though. If you do want to use focus, you have to turn the back button focus off, otherwise it doesn't work, it won't focus. But really, if you're going to be using time-lapse, you should be doing manual focus again. So Mario said, are you getting married again? No, I'm not. So that's basically a trick. If you do want to use the autofocus side to it, you do have to make sure you've got back button focus turned off, but I think I will be just doing it all manual. But it seems to be really easy to use. I was quite surprised, seeing I've never done it before, how well it went. I haven't even taken the clear thing off yet, but I will. So I might do a video of me using that one day, coming up fairly soon. Just let me turn this pre-show off. Who else have we got? Mario, I just said before, Mario said, are you getting married again? No, I'm not. Curious Potato is saying hello. How are you, Curious Potato? Yeah, just basically looking forward to tomorrow. I've got, what was I going to say? I've got a couple of things too that I want to talk to you about to start with, which is colour science and stuff that we're going to go through all together. And then obviously some news and rumours. So we're going to go through a whole range of stuff today. And I'm really looking forward to that as well. But we're just about 10:31, so what I'm going to do now is switch over to the first show, and then we're going to actually get started. Actually, I've got to put something in here. Because we're going to look at colour science first, but bear with me a minute, and I'm just going to switch over to the Osler Images sign. G'day everyone, good to see you all joining in again for our live show that we have weekly. Really appreciate you guys actually joining in weekly. It's much better if you are actually here live because you can ask questions. Please keep asking all the questions because I will be going through all of these with you as the show goes on. There will be a point at the end where we'll have a question time and you can actually put down your questions. Just make sure if you are asking a question that you put at David Osler so I know, and it'll highlight it. Sometimes I miss it if you don't do that. So if you can, just put at David Osler, and that way I'll make sure that I see it. And I'll certainly give a time at the end there where we can go over all of your questions, which can be open. It can be about today's articles, or it could be just anything else that you'd like to know. So, just fire away with that sort of stuff. Really looking forward to going through with everything for you today. Now, as you all know, I have got to 100,000 subscribers, and I am going to do something special for the Melbourne supporters of me, or Australian if you want to come down and shoot with me. The American and English viewers that are there, I promise I will do something with you guys too. I am going to be doing some traveling next year, so I'm hoping that I may get to America or the UK. And if I do that, well, I will do one or the other. I'll definitely be having a shoot with you guys as well. And the following year, I'll do the opposite country. So I do want to actually open it all up to all of you. So you won't miss out. It's just going to be a time thing. But it looks like what I'll probably be doing, I'm just checking on the calendar. It probably will be, if we're looking at it for the people here in Australia, today's the 18th. So it's probably going to be the 27th, the 3rd probably. The reason why I want to do that is I'm picking up the Tamron lens on the 28th. And I would like to do that shoot with you all when I've got the Tamron lens so you can all have a look at it with me. Because obviously it's going to be very hard to get. So I'm thinking that I'll probably do that probably on the 3rd. I'm just going to mark it intentively. And I'll explain in a minute what we're going to do. Now, what I thought we could do is... so it'll be probably on the Saturday, the 3rd of June. And I think what we'll actually do on the day is I'm going to have... obviously, Kerry will be there with me, and Ben will also be here that you've met before on these live chats, and Kiara will also be with me. And what I'm actually intending to do with all of you guys is to meet late afternoon, and then we can all go out and shoot around Melbourne or something like that with Kiara, and Kiara will be the model. So you're all going to have a chance to photograph Kiara yourself. We can all have a meet and greet. So I'm really looking forward to doing that with you guys. And so we'll probably do that on the 3rd. So there'll be more information to come in the coming days. So I will notify you all about that soon. But we really can't wait to meet you all. So if you are a local, if you're anywhere from Australia, obviously you may want to come down. Definitely if you're from Melbourne, well then I really do hope that we can all meet, and perhaps we can have a beer or something together. So that'd be fantastic as well. Anyway, let's get to some stories, because I want to talk to you about the first thing that we're going to go through today is colour science. Now, one of the things that I should put that time down, actually. What is it? 7:44. One of the interesting things about what's going on in the industry at the moment, I've noticed an awful lot of people are starting to whinge about the Sony colour science. Now, I believe this is all of the haters of Sony, actually, that are starting to say this. And I'm going to basically show you some images in a minute that I'm talking about. But remember, the thing is that with Sony, they initially were starting to whinge about the battery life of the Sony. Then they would whinge about the lenses that Sony had. Then they'd start whinging about the ergonomics that Sony has. Every time Sony does something amazing, all the haters start to come out and talk about something else. And now, obviously, it's starting to be colour science. Now, I've also noticed, I'm in a site called the Sony A7 III user group on Facebook, and I keep seeing these colour science things pop up. And honestly, it is ridiculous. And these people seriously should get a life, because there is no problem with the Sony colour science. The people that are saying there's a problem with Sony colour science are clearly not the users of the latest Sony cameras, because there is no problem. And this is the thing that I'm trying to make out what I'm talking about. Now, let's have a look. So, let's go to this, for instance. Now, I did this a few months ago, but this was with the A9. Now, the interesting thing is that the A9, I think the colour science of the A7 III has probably been improved a fraction more over the A9. And clearly, as it goes on, they're going to get better and better with their colour science. Now, these images were taken. Now, it's not really a fair comparison, because I shot this with the A9 with the 70-200 f4. The next image that I'm going to show you was with the 5D Mark IV, so Canon's latest camera, but it was actually the 70-200 f2.8. So it was a better lens. But let's not look at that aspect of it. Let's just look at the colour science and the skin tones and everything that this image is actually showing. Now, if you look on the right-hand side over here, you can see that clearly I've changed nothing. These are images directly out of the camera. So there's been nothing changed. Everything is on 0. So what you're looking at here is a complete image, just shot, exposed, what I think is probably about correct. And basically, I think the skin tones look amazing on this shot for the Sony A9. Now, I did notice that when I originally shot that there was a definitely big improvement from the Sony A9 to the Sony A7R2. They have definitely improved their color science, and like I said, I think they've actually even improved it with the A7 III and the A7R3. They've even improved a fraction more. All right, so this is the image that was taken directly out of the camera, and I think it's really quite beautiful. And like I said, there's been no retouching done, nothing has been done here, and it looks gorgeous. Now, if I switch over to the Canon, which is now, there's no difference. It is so close to skin tones. I'm going to switch back and forth between these two, and you can have a look at how close the skin tones are between these two colours. There may be a fraction of magenta that's on the A9, and that's just simple as moving one of the dialer box. I could just change that simply by coming down here. Now, you're not going to be able to see this on YouTube, but if I just take a fraction of red out, it would fix it. It's a 2-second change to try and make these images look exactly the same in Lightroom. And like I said, I'm not lying to you here. I'm giving the image exactly as it has been taken out of camera. And remember, that was with a better lens, so I would expect that to look a fraction better because that was shot with the Canon 70-200. Just let me change this so you'll see. That was shot with the 70-200 2.8 IS2 USM. That was their latest lens. This one here was shot with the 70-200 f4. And like I said, the colours are that close. And this is the thing that I want to try and make you guys understand, that when you hear all of this rubbish going on about that, and someone's just said in there that they can't really see the difference, they both look great. And I agree with you. Look, the thing is, this is where it's, and we have a word in Australia which is bullshit, and this is complete bullshit by all of the Canon lovers out there, all these other people that are terrified about where Sony are going, saying that that there's a difference in colour. And someone just said, yes, the Canon is better. Yes, but I'd expect that because it's a much better lens. And like I said, it might be a fraction of an adjustment to make them both identical. You can't tell me that any client is going to look at that image and say, oh my God, you've shot that with a Sony. The colour science is just not good enough on that one. It's bullshit. And this is the thing that I'm trying to make you understand, that clients don't care, brides don't care, no one cares. If you're looking at these images together side by side and you're looking at them, they are that close that it's not funny. And remember, this is the A9. This is not the A7R3 or the A7 III, where the colour science has even been made much better. And to be honest, if you're looking at it on my screen, which is colour calibrated, they're even closer because I'm looking at YouTube on my TV up there. It's much better on my colour calibrated screen than it is even on your YouTube thing. So looking at them on my screen, they are that close together. It's not funny. They really are both incredible. And this is why I said, honestly, do not believe and don't get into these arguments where people are starting to say that the Sony colour science is no good. It's just rubbish. And like I said, all they are is they're trolls. They're trying anything possible to justify their decision to stay with whatever brand camera that they bought before and to try and have something against Sony. You clearly, looking at those images, I've showed you something that is totally unedited, straight out of the camera with no retouching done or no colour editing at all, and they are that close that it's not funny. So I honestly hope you start to say that around. Look, say this is complete rubbish. The colours are that close now that it really is a non-issue. And like I said, I've never had anyone say to me, David, your skin tone colours aren't correct. It's just rubbish. Worry about your client. Worry about who you're trying to sell the image to. Don't worry about these trolls these pixel peepers that will try and choose anything possible to try and knock Sony down all the time. And I might sound like a Sony fanboy, but I just hate bullshit. And this is complete, utter rubbish. And they just need to get over it and start shooting these people. And I guarantee most of them that start talking about colour science probably have never taken an image like that in their life. They probably have just taken charts, and they've taken brick walls or whatever they want to take, and things like this. You know, they just don't even realise what they're saying, and they're not artists. They're not real photographers. All they are is whinging trolls, and I'm just getting sick of it, and it just makes me just laugh completely, you know. And like I said, the A7 III is a massive improvement. Not a massive, but it is a definite improvement over the A9. And to be honest, I think the A9 is now brilliant as well. And like I said, I think the difference really, when we're looking at those two images, really is possibly the lens. I would have loved to have had a 2.8 G Master to put against these two lenses just to see and make it a more of a comparison in the shot. But clearly, it's a non-issue. So I'd love you to talk about this in the chat, and I'll come back at the end and we can have a talk about that. But I just wanted to prove to you guys that all this is rubbish that people are actually starting to talk about there. And really, it's just from people that don't know what on earth they're talking about. So yeah, anyway, rant over. I better have a beer o'clock again, I think. Calm down a bit. But honestly, just get over it, guys. Get out there and start shooting. Create some art. Stop shooting charts and doing all this sort of rubbish. No wonder half of these people don't ever get work. Seriously. They're too worried about if they think the skin tones aren't perfect. Oh, honestly. Anyway, let's get back to talking about some other things that are of interest. So let me just come up to here, and I'm going to bring up, what are we now, 17 minutes. So I noticed that Samyang have basically, there's a rumour, it's an SR5, I think, so it must be fairly good, this rumour that's coming out that Samyang are going to bring out another lens. Now, they're not saying, Sony Alpha rumours aren't saying what that lens is going to be, but he's saying that in here that they hope it's going to be a 135 f1.8. It's interesting. I mean, we don't need other 35 mils and 50 mils and things like that, but 135 may be really interesting, and Samyang really are starting now to produce really nice lenses. Like Tamron, they're produced from the ground up, so that's a really great feature with that. I mean, I still am looking forward to the Sigma lenses to come out, but anything where they're starting to bring out another lens or something like that for Sony has to be a great thing. So I think this is probably pretty exciting, and they definitely seem to be improving as they're going on. So it's, you know, it's really only looking up from this stage. Another thing I think. No, that was about all I wanted to talk about there. So we're now going to go on to the other article, which is put into the questions too what you would like to see Samyang release, because I'd be curious to know what you guys would like to see Samyang released. Let me go back now to here. So we're going up to the next one, which is the Tamron shitting time. I said shitting times. I'm still fired up. I love it. Oh, that's a crack up. So the next story we're going to look at, shipping dates. As you know, just to go back, Tamron Australia contacted me, and they're giving me the lens. Well, they're not giving it to me. I mean, they're only lending it to me for a week. I'm not sponsored by anyone, so I don't get anything for nothing. But they are giving it to me for a week to promote the lens. Basically, I'm going to take it around shooting. I've got Kiara organised for the day. Ben's also going to come out with me. And we're going to do a number of things on that day and week, actually. I'm going to probably shoot for the late afternoon and into the evening on the 28th when I pick it up. And that way I can test it for you in daylight, and also check things like the bokeh at night and stuff like that. So I'm going to do all that for you, and I'll check focusing in the evening and all those sort of things. So, and I'll have that video out hopefully the next day. So I'm going to do all that for you on the Monday. the 28th. But it does look like they did tell me that the pre-orders for this lens have been insane and they're going to be incredibly hard to come by. So probably the thing to do if you are interested in getting one is to probably put it on pre-order, because you may be waiting quite a while if you don't do that. And so that's something that you might want to consider if you're definitely thinking about buying this lens, because it is going to be extremely hard to get. And that's been now proven by all of the rumours that are going around about shipping dates. I noticed that Tamron did apologise last week to say that their back orders won't be filled early on. So it's going to be interesting to see what people are going to say about that, or how long it's going to take. But basically, if you're looking at this article here, they're saying that the Tamron BH Photo now remove the May 25th shipping start info. It doesn't mean that they're not going to ship it on that date, but basically, I think what it means is that they're going to have probably only a few that are out at that time. Now, clearly, because the pre-orders have been so strong on that lens, that they're going to have to send them to everyone all around the world, because it's the same date, I believe, that they're releasing it all over the world. I think it's the 25th, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the original date. So clearly it's going to be a while before they can catch up with that. So you might find that B&H only have so many orders, Amazon will, all the camera stores will only have so many pre-orders and things like that. And that was definitely confirmed to me when Tamron Australia said the pre-orders were through the roof and they'd never seen anything like it before. So clearly it's going to take a while before they can catch up on pre-orders. So it does look like, when you're looking at that expect to get the lens later than expected because of high demand, it says, on any of those pre-order sites that you're actually getting. So my suggestion is to you, if you don't want to wait and you want to get it as early as possible, to make sure that you do get it on pre-order. I can tell you that when I felt the lens, and this is why it interests me, I haven't pre-ordered it yet. I will get it, I think. I don't think there's any doubt that I will get it. But this is something where down the track, I will love it because it's so light. And when I picked up the lens and actually felt it, the size of it and the weight of this lens was insane compared to when I've held the G Masters 2470. Yes, you've lost something on the wide end at this, but you've gained on the long end, so that you lose on one end and you gain on the other. I still think now, if I was buying a lens, that the 2875 would be good enough. There is still a little difference between that and from what I've seen in the reviews than the GM 2470, but it's not enough that my clients certainly would pick it up. And again, I'm not a pixel peeper. I only care about how the image looks. So I can tell you one thing, that when I review this lens, there's no way I'm going to be photographing brick walls. And I'll talk about that when we look at the next video, the next review of this. But I'll be shooting this lens in a real world scenario, like I always do with everything else, and how I will use it in real life. I'm not going to be shooting brick walls. So if you're looking for distortion and things like that, you're not going to see it in my review. You're just going to see how it's used for shooting portraits and night scenes and things like that. So I'm talking about in real world use, because for me, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it has perfectly horizontal lines. It doesn't matter all these other things. All I care about, as long as it gives me a beautiful image out of the camera, and that's all I care about, and that's all my clients will care about. So I probably will get it, yes. And to feel the lens in my hand was beautiful. I could probably run this easily on a gimbal. And that's the beauty of this, is that if you're running around with a gimbal, you do not, under any circumstance, want to put a 2470 GM on there, because it's way too heavy. And I can tell you, even walking around like this with the A9 or the A7 III with the 50mm on a gimbal gets quite heavy. And that's the thing for me. I'm not interested in any of that stuff anymore. I really want to go as light as possible. And basically, working with that lens on a gimbal would be stunning because it is so light. And that's the great part about that. The autofocus, as I've proven, if you watch that other video that I posted, was terrific. So that's another real good benefit of that. So I think this may be a great lens that you may want to put on a gimbal because it is so light. It's only 550 grams. So, cheers. I can't believe I'm drinking beer with you guys at 10:50 in the morning. Well, it's beer o'clock sometime in the world, isn't it? Especially for you guys in the US and everything. So anyway, back to this document. So basically, that's now saying it's going to be shipping. So a few of you may get it on the 25th. A lot, I think, are going to get it a lot later. And I will come back to the discussion, guys, a bit later on. Also, Tonica, or Tonica, I can never remember how to pronounce that. It's the 20mm f2.FE lens is going to start shipping in June. So that's another one. Oh, by the way, too, I was going to say to you that my suggestion to anyone particularly buying the A7 III at the moment is to not get the GM version and to buy this lens. Because if you get the 28-75, you've then got enough money left to buy a really amazing wide angle. And that's the way I'd be using this. I'd be saving the $1,000 or so that you're saving getting that lens and get a beautiful wide angle prime. That's the way I'd go, and I think that is by far the best way you could do it. So not only are you getting a really good lens, but you're also going to get, for the same cost, a fantastic wide-angle lens. And then you don't have to worry about that it's only a 28 maximum aperture. So the Tonica, or Tonica, Tokina, I think it's Tokina, isn't it? You're all going to laugh in the live chat. I think it's Tokina. 20mm FM FE is being hopefully released at the beginning of June. The Sigma 24 f2.8 FE lens, and that's going to be a great macro, I think. I think that's a great focal length for a macro. There's still no shipping date on that yet, so we still don't know when that's available. And if you're into Venus optics, that's a beautiful lens with zero distortion. The 9mm. It will be in stock next week at B&H and Adorama if you wanted to get that 9mm lens as well. And just to quickly go down the prices of the Sigma lenses, because some of these interest me particularly. The Sigma 14 is going to be $1,500, well, basically $1,600 US. The Sigma 20 is going to be $899. The Sigma 24 is $849, and that's a 1.4 lens. The Sigma 20 also is 1.4, so beautiful and wide open. Sigma 35 1.4 is $899. The Sigma 50 is $949. Sigma 70 is going to be $569, so that's a pretty good price for that lens. Sigma 85 1.4 is $1,199. And the Sigma 135 1.8 is $1,399. That Sigma 135 particularly interests me. I am on the lookout for a good 135. I'm just waiting to see which way I'll go. There's rumours that Sony may announce one. There's obviously Sigma, and now there's also rumours that Samyang may release one. So it's interesting to see which way we'll go or which way I'll go. And I did have the Sigma 85 1.4, and I love that lens when I was shooting Nikon. So that I would say that the Sigma 135 would be a beautiful lens as well. And I definitely want to try the Sigma 105 when that's out. I'd love to give that a go because I may get that over the 135. I'm not sure which way I'll go. Anyway, so that's that story. Let me just go over to here to this next one, which is 29, 28... 20. So I noticed that Jared Polin did a test, which is not a bad test if you wanted to check how it worked, how the Tamron lens went. Again, it's quite in depth, but again, it's got things like in there with it's photographing walls and stuff like that, which just does my head in. I mean, I know some people may be interested in that side of it, but I'm certainly not. I'm more interested in how it works for the real life scenario for me for shooting portraits. So for me, that review wasn't very worthwhile, but check it out if you want to see a review of it shooting other things. He shot some steps and things like that where they had a little distortion, very little distortion and things like that, but it's quite a good review if you did want to check out how it actually went. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to shooting this for the way that I shoot it, and that may be of more of an interest to a lot of you guys that particularly shoot portraits and things like that, because that's the place that I'm going to be using it, and I'd love to show you that side of it. So my review definitely will be different than what his review was, but I just wanted to show you that there was a review out there if you wanted to check it out. That's quite an in-depth early review. So yeah, anyway, so we'll see how that is. I just wanted to bring that up for you. The next story is about the Sony product announcements. So it's 2950. So this next story is probably no product announcements at the big next Sony show taking place by the end of May. So I think and I still think this is probably going to be the case. I still think that Photokina is going to be the place that the A7S III or the A7000 is going to be released. I'm not sure which way it is. But what they're saying in here is that they're actually saying that there was a new model release done, which is this WW771132. But they're saying that they believe it might be a new RX camera. And I've got a feeling that could be the next camera that's released, because that is definitely due for an update. And it's also something that I've been thinking about getting lately due to that fold-up rear screen. Because I'm not sure how long it's going to be until we get something like an A7000 or whatever with an articulating screen, or whether we'll even get one. And I really would like something that I could use instead of having to use, something like this HD monitor, to have something that I could just flip the screen up to do quick vlogs and things like that for you guys, or B-roll or whatever. An RX camera may be good. And the only thing that's stopping me from getting something like an RX camera at the moment is the fact that there's no mic input. And it's just such a pain, because then you have to start syncing. And I would love them to bring out something in the RX line that would give us a line input for a mic. So I'm really hoping that's something that they might release. Cheers, everyone. But we're going to have to see. But according to this rumour, they do believe that the next camera that's going to be coming out will be possibly going to be the RX camera. And they're saying that a little bit further down here, they're saying, let's see, I hope I'm wrong, and that the A6700 or A7S III will be announced soon. So we're still waiting on that, but I do have a feeling that we're going to probably see it in Photokina. Now, they could just do something earlier and say release an A6700, but I don't think they're going to offer the A6700 and an A7S III at the same time. I just can't see that happening, so it's going to be one or the other. I saw a rumour the other day mentioning that the reason why the A7S III wasn't released at the show that they just did the other day with Kando was because the A7 III is doing so well, and that could be a possibility. They may have it finished and ready to go, but the A7 III is just going nuts. So they may not want to take away those sales, because clearly a lot of people that buy the A7 III then wouldn't get the A7S III, but they might get the A7S III if that's released a few months down the track. So they're probably waiting on that. And even so, it's going to have to offer some things that would really make me want to step up. I seriously probably need another camera, just for video side of things, because when I'm doing this fusion weddings like I am tomorrow, it's a struggle with the amount of cameras that I've got at the moment. I'd like to probably take out of the equation the A6500 and then replace it with something like another A7 III or an A7S III. I really would like to have 4K 60p, but if they brought that out in an A6700, I might be quite happy with just getting that and not needing to go to an A7S III. Because the thing that I'm finding now is the actual range that you can use these cameras, the video in something like the A9, something like the A7R III, something like the A7 III is honestly good enough, and I don't need really any better than that, apart from occasionally wanting to shoot in 4K 60p. So if that was available in an A6700, I probably would just go down that track, because if I need anything in low light now, the A7 III, the A9 and the A7R III particularly, all those cameras now are easily good enough to shoot anything up in the ridiculous high ISO ranges. So you almost don't need the A7S III now unless you're shooting in incredibly dark environments without lighting. The A7 III particularly is good enough to shoot in that scenario now. You can push the A7S... Well, all the reviews you've seen out there, if you looked at Max Ura's review, he said that the A7 III was better than the A7S II in most cases, unless you push the ISO up to ridiculous amounts like 128,000 ISO, something like that. So clearly they're good enough for most people now, that the latest Sony cameras. And that's the thing that I have to wait and see what they offer for an A7S III. For instance, if they brought out something with an internal ND in there, if it had 4K 60p, if it had particularly an articulating screen, but I don't think we're going to see that in the A7S III. I'd love to jump on board. That's why I'm sort of waiting to see which way they go. An A6700 may be a better option for me if that comes out with 4K 60p and an articulating screen. Or it may even be a new RX camera that comes out with a folding screen that does give you 4K footage. I don't know if it does 4K 60p though. You know, maybe the way to go, but it doesn't have that mic input, and whether they give us that in the next camera, you know, is all going to be interesting. So anyway, we'll talk about that in the live chat in a second. So the next thing is 35, 45. Next thing to bring up is this, and I just wanted to talk about this briefly, and I do actually agree with this, that the DPreview have said the Sony a7 III is the best camera you can buy for under 2,000, and to be honest, I think it's way above that. I think it's probably the best camera you can get for under 3. It really is an amazing camera. The more that I use that camera, it's just incredible. And I'm just reading the comment that they've put down here. It says, the a7 III's combination of solid image quality, versatile autofocus, and impressive 4K video quality make it extremely competitive. And for those reasons, we've selected as both our top choice for shooting people and events and our overall top pick for under $2,000. And it's a really interesting scenario because I would now recommend, seriously, if you were just coming into the industry, you really can't go past the Sony a7S III. And particularly if you can put that with something like the new Tamron 28-75, you're getting a camera US for under $3,000 that is remarkable if you think what it gives you. It's clearly priced below the expectation of what you're getting out of that camera. Like I said, if you could easily put this up against the 5D Mark III, which is way more than that, a lot of those other cameras, and clearly for the money that you're paying for that camera, it's outstanding. Beautiful 4K footage. You've got all the logs and everything else if you want to shoot in those. The autofocus is just incredible. It does have silent shutter if you did want to use it, although you do have to be careful about where you use that. So really, there's nothing bad that you could say about that camera, really, for the price that you're paying for it. I know $2,000 is still a lot of money, but clearly, if you're dealing with an entry-level camera, which is where Sony have priced that, you really can't go wrong with that. And it probably is hurting sales of something like the a6500, and that's the interesting part of that, because really, I wouldn't be buying the a6500 or any of those cameras. I'd be saving up to a little bit more and buy this camera. That's why they're going to have to give us something amazing with a new a6700 camera. So that's why I'm sort of excited about you know, what may come out in the future. But that's definitely where I would be going now if I was looking at purchasing another camera. So anyway, let's go up to questions, because I'd love to open that up. Guys, if you can, really appreciate it if you could give me a thumbs up as well. It just makes sure people watch the show. So let's go back, because I'm going to start scrolling back through all of these. And we'll start going through everything together. Now, questions are starting at, what's the time? 38:41. 38. I'll just put 50. All right, so cheers. I think it's another beer o'clock. All right, so everyone's just saying hello initially. Johnson City Ariel said, finally catching another live stream. Good to see you in here, mate. Carl said, hello, people. Stephen said, hey, David from Nova Scotia. 15C here too. Been inversely going into summer. Yep. Well, yeah, we're sort of getting into winter now, so 15 is about our average, probably. Trevor Pinocchio, I think, said that's much better than 3 to 4 years ago. Oh, you're talking about the colour science? I know. It's like chalk and cheese how much they've improved. Johnson City said, I really can't see any difference. They both look great. And that's the thing. This is the thing I want people to understand, that when you see these trolls going on, I mean, this is what gets me completely. These people go onto the Sony A7 III on Facebook. This is the A7 III page. And then they start whinging about colour science. Why on earth would you have bought a Sony A7 III and not researched how the colour looks on that camera? I mean, honestly, these people are always trolls trying to cause problems, trying to stir up issues. And it just honestly gets right under my nose, and it's just rubbish. And I proved to you a few minutes ago how close the actual colour science is now. Now, clearly, there is minute differences, yes, but there was also a difference in the lenses that I'd used in that image. And honestly, if I hadn't shown that image to either one, no one would have known the difference. If you gave that to a client, no client would say, oh, that hasn't been shot on Canon. Oh, that's been shot on Sony. And it's just rubbish. People just need to get over it. Honestly, it is just complete, utter crap. Ryan said, no bride has ever complained to me about skin tones looking too magenta. Exactly, Ryan, and it is just ridiculous. I might do another post on it, actually, just to stir up a few things with these Canon Sony haters or whoever they are. Trevor Pinicky said the Canon is better, but only marginally. It's so close on my monitor, Trevor. Really, really close. Hopeaholic said they both look great. I agree. They both look terrific to me, and I would use either one, and that's the point that I'm trying to say. I really think it's a non-issue. Carl said, we use the term bullshit here in America. Oh, okay, good. I probably shouldn't have said it because they'll now demonetize my video. Ryan said, I literally just sold my 5D Mark V and 5D to switch to Sony A7 III, and you're not going to regret it, Ryan, at all. I mean, the colours are just amazing now, easily as good as what Canon are producing. Reza said Sony colours is best. I think they're that close that I don't think either one is better than the other, to be honest. They're close to me when I look at them, that I just think it's a non-issue. And that's really, it's just a non-issue. People just need to get over it. Most lenses render colour slightly differently. That's probably a bigger factor than the camera. And you might be right, Carl, because like I said, there were two totally different lenses that I used. Ryan said, love lots of things about my Canon gear, but the focus is so much accurate with the Sony, and that's the most important thing for me. The colour is so easy to fix. Like I said, it'd be one slider to match them completely in Lightroom. Whinging trolls, yep. David, you've been quite ranty this week. I know, I have sometimes. It's quite funny, isn't it? He goes, I like it. You'll start calling me the angry something. I need to bring the happy photographer back. Lance said, hello all from SoCal. So good. Good old David Oser is fired up. Love it. Oh, and bullshit is American, not Aussie. Okay. Carl said the Samyang 135 f2 is a fantastic lens. Okay, thanks for letting us know. M. Spate said, hello, David. Enjoying your show. This is Melvin from not so sunny Florida. It's raining like cats and dogs. Oh, okay. We need the rain. We need heaps of it. Johnson said Samyang could come up with some good zooms to go with their primes. But what a great time to be shooting Sony with all these lenses that are starting to be released now. This is why they're now starting to pick on Sony Color, because they can't, whinge about the lenses anymore. It just cracks me up. Johnson said, Tamron too, I'd love to see them come up with their own affordable 24 to 70. Now, the thing too is, I would love now Tamron to produce a 70 to 200 2.8. That could be amazing, because if that's as light as what the 2470 is, that may force me to purchase a different 70 to 200 2.8 lens. So that's really interesting. The reason why I love the F4 version is because it's so light. And if Tamron could produce something that's really good around that range, it might make me go over. The Pandas here, I'm DeBrown's here, g'day. Your videos are getting some good exposure on Sony Alpha Rumours. Yeah, I noticed that, Tony. They have been putting a lot on there, which is really good. Johnson City said, yeah, I can't complain at all. I just like a little more low light performance. And if I had the 3 like you guys, I wouldn't need the 2.8 as bad. My poor A7 III Max is out usability here. There's a big difference between the A7 II and the A7 III and ISO particularly, and focus actually. They really have stepped it up on that camera. Carl Ryan said, I have an incredible collection of brick wall images. I love it. Honestly, what is it? What is it about shooting brick walls? Seriously. Like, guys. I'm going to have another drink. I don't want to rant too much. Now, guys, if you want to make money, you should be using the lens on people, not brick walls. Because seriously, worry about how people look. If you're trying to shoot portraits, worry about how people look. If you're going to shoot basically architecture, well, and you want brick walls to look totally flat, then perhaps you should be shooting brick walls. But seriously, the distortion on these lenses can be fixed so easily in Lightroom. I mean, really easily. And this is the thing that makes me laugh. Don't get too ed up on things like showing brick walls and how the lines run not perfectly straight. It just cracks me up. Like, I know I'm going to get slammed for this from some of the more technical people that start to comment. I don't care, because I'm here for you guys. I really don't care what people say. So, yeah. Anyway, stop shooting brick walls. But I'm glad, Carl, I'm glad you've got a beautiful collection of brick walls there, Carl. I still prefer the flexibility of faster primes, 1.4. And I agree. Look, I'm still going to be shooting primes, Trev. There's no way I'm getting rid of my 35 and 85 primes, because for me, that's how I love to shoot. But the 2470 may be a good one that I can use in studio, for instance. Occasionally on a gimbal, it might be good too. It might be just a good lens that I can stick in my bag down the track. Richard said, hi Dave, I'm late. You still got here, Richard. 500 grams isn't bad. No, it's light. I think it's 550, so it is. It's actually really light. Excuse me. The lens does still feel like good quality though. I was quite happy with how the lens felt, and it seems to be made really well. AI said, well, it's 9 a.m. in China. What else have we got? Michael said, bam, what's up, guys? Hi, Michael. Good to see you in here. The Panda Photographer said, do go to New York City, Portland, San Francisco in the future. If I come to the US, I'll definitely be doing sort of probably LA and New York, those areas, and probably Vegas too. I was there 2 years ago, so yeah. And if I go to England, I'll probably do meet up. I'm probably somewhere like London and Manchester. Brett said, f4 lenses are fantastic on the A7 III. The high ISO in A7 III is amazing. That's right. And look, I'm really happy shooting f4 lenses, Brett. It hasn't bothered me at all. But if I could get a lens like the 2.8, like that Tamron lens for less money, you know. And then the weight is the thing for me. The weight is the big thing for me. And that's what I liked about the Tamron so much. Michael said, we get the Tamron on the 28th in the USA. It just depends on how many are available though, Michael. I don't think there's going to be many available to be shipping out. Trev said, every Sigma is rock solid and comparably affordable. If you look at the manufacturer's prices, they've been my favourite glass maker for a few years now. They are great lenses, that's right. Johnson City Ariel said, I love my 16 to 35 f4, but can't help but daydream for the 2.8. I love my 16 to 35 f4. There's no way I'd be buying the GM version of that because I just don't need it. I'm happy with the 16 to 35 f4. If I need anything that's a 2.8 version, I'm going to buy a wide-angle prime. Ryan said, coming from the Canon 70 to 200 2.8, I was nervous, but I think I really like the Sony f4. Yep, I love that lens, Ryan. I really do love that lens, and I use it all the time. It's sharp as. Shane said, waiting for someone to make a 16 to 35 f2 for under 1,500. It's going to happen, Shane. It's just a matter of waiting. Carl said, all in all, you're just another freaking wall. Oh, I love you, Carl. What a crack up. Oh, that's funny. Oh, God. What else have we got? Oh, yeah, Trevor, definitely. I hope they give us another FMO version of that. Fallen Angels here. Hi, how are you? Jared said, Jared did a good review, but not as in-depth as we all wanted. Johnson said, agreed, Shane. Lance said, I'd be interested in a zoom lens for backpacking, so very lightweight for landscape, astro, camping, etc. Yeah, and that's a good thing, Lance. It would be a great travel lens, I think, that 28 to 75. Where on earth is the A7S III? I think, obviously, Photokina, I think, Trev, it's going to be announced. We're all waiting for that too. I certainly am. Michael, David, love that navy shirt. You wear it so well, buddy. Thank you. And look, here's my logo. See my logo there? Oh, hang on. It's there on that side. And if you look on the back, hang on, I'll just switch cameras. Again, it's all about marketing for me, and the more people see my name, I get people walking up to me with their cameras on their phone, and they take pictures of my name on the back. It's perfect. And guys, if you're not utilising this strategy, I'm telling you, you should, because it so works. I've had that many mothers when I've been doing weddings say, oh, have you got a card? And sometimes I'm busy and I haven't got one, and I'll say, oh no, just take a photo on the back, and they'll take it, and then I'll get calls a few days later. It works so well. It's like advertising around on your back. You should all utilise it. It is fantastic. And did you notice my little logo on the front there? It's got a little iris, like the camera aperture ring. I'm not sure if you can see. Hang on, I'll see if I can come in closer. So that's my logo. I really like it, actually, because it's something a little bit different, and I love how it's got the little aperture ring as the other eye. So I'm glad you like my shirt, Michael. Brett said he loves the 16 to 35 too. Mike said, are you planning to go to Photokina? Germany's quite beautiful at that time of year. I may one day, Mike, just don't know when. But yeah, I would. I'd love to go to Photokina, actually. Strata said, I ordered mine on the 28th of April from BHP Photo. Hopefully you'll get it on time. What else? Oh, Ed Corona, that's his last name. Lance said, pouring a Japanese whiskey. Lance, let's do it. Cheers. Now, Strata said, dear photographers, do you have any recommendations on an alternative to Lightroom? I don't like really paying a membership and do not own the app. I don't use anything other than Lightroom, so no. Capture One is another good program. On One gives also quite a good alternative if you want to pay $100. I think the On One is quite good as well, but a couple of people may be able to chime in on the chat and talk about that. What else have we got? Jeff saying, hi. Jess said, is the Sigma Art lens too heavy on my A7R III if I want a light setup? Yes, they are heavy. So it just depends how much you'd like to lug around, Jess. So you're going to have to consider that before you... What lens were you thinking about? It depends too which one. But they are heavy lenses, yeah. Bullshit is everywhere. Trev said, I don't know what the breakdown is in terms of level of videography, but I'm sure most professional videographers are waiting for that A7S III to replace the A7S II. Yeah, you're probably right. And I probably will get one. I'm just waiting to see what they offer with it. I certainly love shooting with the A9 though and the A7 III. The video is just stunning on those cameras. Ryan said, a lot of shooters love Capture One, but I still like the Adobe suite. Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm so locked into the Adobe suite that I just couldn't change. And that's the thing. I just like the way it catalogs and everything else, and I just know it. I don't know if I want to learn something else at this stage. Stratus said A7 III is the king of low light photography. It is, and also dynamic range. Don't forget that the dynamic range on the A7 III is unbelievable. It clearly is incredible, and I've showed that before. It is amazing. Like what you're getting on that camera, amazing dynamic range, amazing ISO, amazing focus, and for $2,000, it's unbelievable. What else? Trev Picker said, some people who are shooting the A7 III have already left it for Panasonic, including me. They need to get the A7S III out there now. Yeah, I think the A7 III, though, is selling so well, that's probably what's stopping it. Or perhaps they had always, all along, planned Photokina as the release for that camera. Aurora 218, if you is also someone suggesting for instead of Lightroom. Lumina is crazy slow on my computer. Okay, that's interesting. Ed Corona said, where were we? I think I've lost the spot. Got to find where I was. Oh, Ed Corona said, do you have an episode about choosing 7200 versus good prime for portraits? I have the 85. But was wanting more compression, especially for clients. No, I've never done an episode about that, Ed, but it becomes a personal thing, and it's also depending on what you want to shoot too. I always take the 70-200 with me on weddings and portrait shoots in case if I do need that compression, and that is a big thing. If I want to bring the background in, I'll always use a 70-200, but for most of my work, the 85 is ample, but occasionally I'll grab the 70-200 out just for that reason alone. So there's no real time I'd use it. It just depends on what I want in the shot, and it's an artistic choice. Jess said DxO Lab. Yep, that's another one, but there's rumours they were going broke. I'm not sure about that. What else? Rick said, hey Dave, you've started without me. While shooting the A7 III, I'll keep mistakenly moving the exposure comp dial. No, I haven't, Rick. I don't have that at all. So that's interesting. Must be the way you're holding the camera or something. Stradius said, question mate, do you have any recommendations about alternative software for Lightroom? That's what we've already discussed there. I can't really recommend anything because I only use Lightroom. I haven't used the other ones. I probably think if I was going to pick anything though, I'd choose Capture One. Rui, does the new 28-70mm extend when you zoom? I don't think it did. I can't remember, but I don't think it did, Rui. I'll test that though all for you in another week or so. Jess said, yeah, I don't think it did extend. Jess said, David, I have the Sony 24-105 f4 and I think it already covers my needs very well. So I do not need the Tamron 28-75 2.8 and I will get the Sony 24-105 f4 on the bottom side of the lens. Hang on. I get with the... Oh, okay. Yeah, if you already had the 24-105, no, I don't think you do need the 28-75. I'd buy another prime. I'd buy definitely a fast prime if I had that lens already. Ryan said, please don't ever go angry photographer on us. You're way more entertaining the way you are. Steve Pilcher said, we have switched from Nikon to Sony A9s and the A7R III and the colour is great. I agree, Steve, clearly, honestly. There's no problem with the Sony colour science at all. Just don't believe it. When anyone says Sony has a colour issue, they haven't. It's bullshit. Francisco just said, hi. Michael said, yeah, haters. And you're right, Michael. It is. It's haters. I showed you the results. If you're looking at those images, like I showed you before, and I'm going to scroll back because it is so important. If you're looking at these images, like I showed you before, they're both fantastic. That's the Sony A9 with the 7200 f4. That is the Canon 5D Mark 1V with the 70-200 f2.8. And the other thing too is I wish I'd put her head exactly the same because there's shadows coming through there, but that's the head tilt that's causing that. The colours, I'm telling you, the colours on my monitor are that close that there's no difference. There is a fraction of magenta on the Sony, but I am talking about a minute amount. Not that I would even worry about it and even correct for, to be honest. It's perfect as it is, and I could give that to the client. I mean, I wouldn't because there's no retouching done. You can see it's as it is in camera, all 0 on the other side there. Nothing's been changed, just exactly as taken out of camera, and they are both exceptional color results for skin tones. It's just a non-issue, honestly. Brick wall. Trev said brick wall photography is through the roof. Perhaps that's what I'm doing wrong. Perhaps I should be shooting more brick walls. That's where I'm going wrong. I need more big brick walls to grow my business. Clearly, that's where I'm going wrong. Ed said Ed said I'm a brick wall fine art photographer. I need to start doing some brick wall fine art, actually. I could do a bit of noise on there, a bit of mood, things like that. What a crack up. You guys seriously crack me up. Dr. Mule or something, I can't pronounce the name, Muhul says, enjoying your show, not to forget the A7 III focusing aids help focusing. They do, exactly. And that's one big thing if you are manually focusing. Alex said, greetings from England. Love your work, brother. Thank you so much, Alex. Francisco said, David is like Super Mario, breaking bricks all the time. I'm going to regret saying that brick wall thing, aren't I? I can just picture it. Oh, boy. I have a wicked sense of humour, though, so throw it at me. Give me whatever you can with the brick wall shots. Jess said, instead of photographers a wall, try the Tower of Pizza, Italy, and see what happens. Stratus said, yeah, there is no point seeing walls for lens tests. Zion said, for travel, 2875 or Sony 24105. I think, honestly, if you had the money, I'd get the 24105 if it was travel because you need the reach. I definitely think the 105 is better for travel for sure. Jim said, Capture One version 11. Yep, that's Capture One is meant to be really good as well. Stratos said the Sony 24105 is a really good lens, but a bit heavy in my opinion. That could be another thing, like if you want to travel light, then the Tamron is the way to go. So it all depends on what you want to do. Like if you could easily take an A7 III with the Tamron 28-75 and a gimbal and do really good video and have 2.8. So yeah, it's a hard decision. Lance said, 85 watching and only 34 likes. Thanks for mentioning that like. Actually, there's a couple there. Would really appreciate a like if you can give it to me. Mr. Osler, please tell me which one is better between the 24-105 and the 35. Well, they're totally different lenses, you can't compare both of them. They're for completely different things. I love the 35 1.4, but that would be a great travel lens as well. You can't compare them. Neither one is better than the other. It just depends on what you want them for. Stratos said, I know a beautiful brick wall. I will introduce you to her. Oh my God, I've got 80 people watching this. They're going to think I'm a nutcase. Oh, if you're joining in late, guys, and you're hearing all these brick walls, you're going to have to watch the earlier part of the this chat. Oh boy. Oh dear. Johnson said, I actually think the bokeh of the Sony f4 looks nicer than the 2.8 Canon. Interesting. I've been really happy with the bokeh of my Sony f4 70-200. I love it actually. Jose said, Corona, JL and Angry Photographer are stepping up. They will get out too. He'll just swallow JL whole. Oh, okay, the argument's still going, is it? I'm staying out of that one. Jim said like button. David O said there should be 2 like buttons, a second one for Susie. Susie's wondering what the hell's going on with all this wall talk, I think. Good night from Belize. Hashtag Brickwall. How dare you make fun of Australian Professor Xavier? This is my favourite channel. Oh, God. Jeffrey Bay said, woohoo, David. Light from DPreview. Yeah, I saw that I was on there from DPreview. I'm so happy about that. It's good that it's actually been shared around a little bit. So things are really starting to move for me, which is great. And like I said, guys, I really appreciate you sharing my stuff as well. Because remember, unlike a lot of people out there, I'm not sponsored by anyone or paid for anyone to do anything. So I really do appreciate you supporting me in that way. And having it on Sony Alpha Rumours or DPreview and all those other places only just helps. Like I said, because I'm just doing it all on my own. And I really do appreciate that. Jim Penn said, nutcase, I like the smoke series of photos, was joking about the compressed air canisters. Yeah, I know you were. Yeah, I just put one about smoke, and I've got another smoke video coming up soon, Jim. And that's more showing those bigger smoke bombs that I was releasing and stuff like that. So that's going to be coming out soon too. But that can, in that scenario, work quite well. I must admit, though, that if you look at that video of Kiara that I posted just the other day, they work better too if there's no sort of draft and stuff like that. So in a room where you have windows that were enclosed, you would get gorgeous lighting coming in through the windows. And you know, that would be really stunning. And it would be beautiful. Now, just to show you, let me just bring up this because I'll just show you something. Let me just quit that Lightroom and I'll open up another one. Because I want to show you a couple of the smoke bomb ones that I did the other day. Just quickly, I know because we've been going for a while again, over an hour again. But I'd love to show you this, and I've just got to wait for Lightroom to do this backup. So while that's happening, let me read a couple more questions. Bob said, how's the Sony... how's the Sony colour science for brick walls? I don't know, actually. I must test that, how the... Sony colour science for brick walls is. Strata said, guys, please give a like to David, please. Mike said, you really have to come to Photokina. They will show you the latest brick walls there. Oh, my God. Ryan said, German brick walls have the best colour. Oh, this is going off. Strata said, mate, about banding. I could get some banding in my pictures. I think there should be some advice to avoid it, especially in concerts. Yeah, is that which camera's with that, Stratus? Because I haven't seen it yet, but... Were you shooting silent shutter or electronic? Or mechanical, I mean. Now, let me just... Is that still closing? Yeah, it's still closing. Dan said, Sony 24-105 f4 is a great lens with great range. Same size as the 16-35 f4, not too heavy. You've got... fast primes. If lens speed is an issue, I use it on the A7R2 and love it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why I love the 16-35. The weight doesn't bother me at all in that lens, but I certainly wouldn't want to be lugging around the G Master version. The 24-105, then obviously if it's the same weight as the 16-35, would be quite a good travel lens. But like I said, if you did want to travel really light, then the Tamron 28-75 may be a perfect option because it is only 550 grams. And like I said, I think most gimbals could take that as well. But just let me open up this because I'll give you a sneak peek of these shots from the snow shoot. From that smoke shoot, because I'd love to give you a quick sneak peek before I post it. Seeing you guys are all on here live. So just bear with me while Lightroom opens up. And let me just go rated, because I'm just going to bring up a couple in here that I can show you. So there's that one, and which was the other one? Oh yeah, these two. All right, so let me just switch over. And I'll just reduce this down a little bit. So these are the beautiful light streams that you can get by using those smoke bombs. That's one image that I've got actually there. And the next image I'll show you is this one. Excuse me. So these were all done by those smoke bombs that I showed last week in the live show. The smoke has drifted off into the background, and the natural light that's actually coming through there is just from those actual smoke bombs. So it gives a lovely effect coming out in the image. You can see there that there's more smoke that's actually coming out. Stay tuned because you'll see the video of this on soon, so you'll actually get an idea about how I shot all of these images. So these are all going to be coming out in the coming days, where you'll see all these images that I've actually been producing. But you know, just beautiful, soft, filtered light coming through the forest, and you know, I just love it. So stay tuned for that. That will be out shortly. Let me just go back to here. And we're just going to finish in a minute because I've just about finished my beer, and then it's beer o'clock. Let's have a look. Dan said, Sony 24-105 is a great lens, I've already read that. Jim said, the catch light in the smoke was super effective in the session with the airflow to open the window. Yeah, it actually came out quite good, Jim, I agree. Yes, banding occurring with silent shootings. Yeah, you can't use silent shooting. Only use mechanical. Don't use, with the A7 III, don't use silent shooting for that sort of scenario at all. You can only do that with the A9. It's just not fast enough. The actual sensor is not quick enough. That's what you're paying for the A9. I do dance things and everything, and I've been shooting with the A9, and I've never ever seen banding. I've never seen banding at all actually in that camera. Gregorio said, hi Dave, how is the Tamron 28 compared to the Sony 24 in sharpness? I can't say, Gregory, because I haven't used the 24-105 in that sort of scenario yet. But I may be able to test it when I get the lens, if I can get my hand on one. But to be honest, I'm really going to be probably just testing that lens to see how it is for me, and then I might test it later on to see how it goes against other lenses. But initially, it's just going to show you how that lens works in itself. And that should tell you whether you think it's good enough for you or not. Not as compared to another lens. It'll be just if this lens works or it doesn't work. For portraiture, for instance. Jim said, smoke images, phenomenal lens art. Thank you so much, Jim. Richard said, you should use some smoke on a brick wall. Oh, no. Dan said, Sony 24-105 f4 is only 663 grams. Yeah, well, there you go. So it's not that heavy at all, is it? All right, guys, that's going to be about it for now. So obviously, if there's any questions after this, please leave them down below. And I make sure I always answer questions. If ever I get big enough and I can't do that anymore, I'm not going to ask you to leave questions. So please, if you leave questions down below, I will answer you. Don't forget to join our Facebook Photography and Videography School, because that's really starting to grow now, and it's a positive site that I don't allow any crap in there. It's just basically people that want to learn, share images, and basically it's just a positive environment, unlike a lot of Facebook pages out there where everyone's slagging off at each other. So please join us in there too if you do want to share and learn, and you can share all your photography business pages and your Facebook pages, your websites, YouTube videos, and things like that. So join us there as well. Apart from that, I'll see you all again for the next video, which will be up probably tomorrow morning. I'll post another one. I've got another one of Kiara up. And basically, that'll be about it for the next few days. I'll probably post something again on Sunday and keep posting like I have been over the last few days. So anyway, that's about all for now. So I'll see you all for the next video. And g'day from down under. Bye, everyone. And go out and photograph those brick walls.